Hi, welcome to this Blender video tutorial entitled Appending and Linking Blender Files. Everything that is created in Blender, objects, meshes, materials, textures, scenes, and animations, are all reusable. Once you, or anyone else for that matter, has modeled, textured, or animated an object, it's available to be reused in a different Blender project. Many modelers develop libraries of modeled objects and materials and reuse them in multiple Blender projects. You can access something created in one Blender file from another Blender file by either appending the files or linking the files. To demonstrate append and link, I have opened my Blender default scene and I've added a hemi-lamp to give it more illumination. I'll click on the File button located on the Information Editor header and select Append. This displays Blender's file browser. I'll select the tennisshoes.blend file located on my desktop. This displays a list of everything that can be appended to my file. I'll select Object. This displays a list of all of the objects that are in the tennisshoe.blend file. I will select the shoebox object and hold my Shift key down and add the shoebox top object to the selection. Note on the left that the link box is not checked. I'll then click on the Link Append button, which will append the shoebox and the shoebox top objects to my file. This returns a display to the 3D editor with the two objects appended from the tennisshoe.blend file. If we look at the outliner editor, we see that the objects have been appended, as well as their accompanying meshes and also their materials, textures, and texture image files as well. If I select the cube object and go to the material editor, I have available to me all of the materials that were appended from the tennisshoes.blend file that came in with the shoebox and the shoebox top objects. If I select the shoebox top, I can edit it. Here I will tab into edit mode and move some of the vertices. I can also change its material. Now if I save this file, I'm saving these appended objects without affecting the original objects located in the tennisshoes.blend file. I'll click on the File button again, but this time I'll choose Link rather than Append. I will again navigate to the tennisshoes.blend file and again select Object. Here I will select the right shoe object. Note that this time the link box on the left is checkmarked. I'll click on the Link Append button and link the right shoe object to my current scene. The right shoe object is now displayed in my scene and it is listed in my outliner editor. However, as indicated by the link icon in the outliner panel, I can select the linked object, but I cannot edit or transform it. Linked objects remain exactly as they exist in the original file. In this sense, linked objects are simply a reference to an object located in a different file. If I render this file, the linked object renders, but it cannot be altered inside of the new file. If I save the file, the link to the right shoe is saved, but not the right shoe itself. Here I will save this file as tshoe.blend. I will then remove the original tennisshoes.blend file from my desktop. I will then reopen the tshoe.blend file. As you can see, since the link is now broken, the right shoe object is not displayed. Linking objects is usually used for repeated backgrounds that don't change like a city or a landscape. I'll load a new Blender scene. I'll then click on the File button and choose Append. I will select the mymaterials.blend file from my desktop. This is the blend file that is used in the PDF tutorial for this learning unit. I'll select Material and select all the materials in the file. I will then click on the Link Append button and append all of the materials to my current Blender scene. I'll choose the cube object and then click on the Material Context button in the Properties panel. Now I am able to link any of the appended materials from the MyMaterials.blend file to the cube object. Appending materials to a Blender file is a little different than appending objects. Any appended materials that are not linked to an object when the file is next saved are discarded. For instance, here I will select the black and white checker material. In the Outliner panel, we see that the material is now linked to the cube's mesh. This particular material has an associated texture that contains a PNG image file as well. If I were to now save this Blender file, all the rest of the unlinked materials would be deleted. Blender by default does not save any unlinked materials. In fact, by default, Blender does not save any type of unlinked data. Now, to solve this problem and to save these materials for future use in this Blender file, we need to add a fake user to the materials. And to do this, I'll switch my 3D viewport to another Outliner editor window. Under the All Scenes drop-down box, I'll choose Data Blocks. This displays all of the data blocks currently within this Blender file. I will open up the Materials hierarchy. This shows all the material data blocks. I'll open up the Bronze data block. This lists all the properties associated with that material data block. I'll checkmark the Fake User checkbox. Now when the file is saved, the Bronze material data block will be saved along with the file. To save the rest of the unlinked material data blocks, we will need to open them and add the fake user. I'll do this with the Bronze foil and copper materials. I'll now go back to the 3D Editor viewport and save this file as Fake User Test. I'll now open a default Blender file to get out of the current Blender file and then reopen the Fake User Test.blend file. The black and white checker material is still linked to the cube object. And if I browse the material IDs, the bronze foil, and copper materials have been saved because they were linked to a fake user and are now available to be used by other objects in the scene.